Think about this. One soldier walking alone under rail lights in occupied territory, disguised as a maintenance man. No backup, no air cover, just a fiber link guiding him from 75 miles away. He plants a single-shaped charge and disappears. Minutes later, a convoy carrying 2.2 million pounds of fuel lurches off its rails. The story behind that quiet handshake between human risk and digital warfare is what we're about to uncover. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How did Ukraine know the exact minute a Russian fuel convoy would roll through an exposed corridor? Not roughly, not within the hour, but down to the minute. In a war where every movement is trackable and every signal leaves a trace, Ukraine turned the digital noise of a battlefield into a live operational map. Intercepted GSM signals, data from informants buried inside railway operations, and streams of commercial satellite photos layered together until the line between code and terrain nearly disappeared. On that invisible map, timetables emerged that even Russia's own dispatchers didn't realize had been reconstructed, one ping and timestamp at a time. Moscow believed its trains were cloaked by encryption. The assumption was that military railway schedules, transmitted only through protected systems, were secure from foreign eyes. Controlled corridors, fixed codes, and a rotating schedule of digital keys created a sense of invulnerability. But Russia's heavy dependence on civilian infrastructure left small cracks open to mining by analysts. GSM pings from trackside phones, stray maintenance updates, and work logs from refueling depots gave Ukraine something that encryption couldn't hide: patterns. In secure rooms across Kyiv, teams worked to convert fragments into a running timeline. Technicians with signal intelligence tools combed through intercepted chatter buried in encrypted channels. Even if the message content remained hidden, each transmission carried metadata. It revealed when, how often, and from where a signal pulsed. SIGINT units marked these locations, tagging the faint drift of devices as trains rolled through repeater zones. Analysts aligned those positions with maintenance records and commercial cargo manifests quietly leaked from regional offices. With every tag, the ghost outline of a convoy became sharper. Then came the human layer of confirmation. Informants inside railway offices slipped tiny adjustments into the raw data: maintenance timestamps, crew rotations, and refueling updates. Their edits validated what algorithms only suspected. When this mosaic was run through an evolving software model, it produced a simulated rail schedule updated in real time. It wasn't maps with arrows and fronts anymore. It was a spreadsheet predicting motion down to seconds. Commercial satellites added a final layer of certainty. Instead of waiting for visual cues, analysts tracked temperature differences on steel rails from orbit. A passing train leaves a narrow heat trail, its warmth fading minute by minute. By comparing sequential images, they confirmed rail activity without direct observation. When matched with GSM pings, the result looked less like speculation and more like surveillance conducted across time zones. Ukraine's network didn't just watch a train. It knew when it would exist in a given coordinate. That's when the breakthrough surfaced. Cross-referencing radar coverage maps with intercepted air defense telemetry, one analyst detected a 75-mile blind zone stretching along a segment of the Luga-Gachina line. Within that corridor, Russian air coverage thinned enough to delay detection for several minutes. No drones, no radar sweeps, no responsive scrambling. The corridor that Russia believed hidden by silence turned out to be hidden only from itself. Inside Ukrainian control centers, the so-called kill chain began building silently. There were no dramatic commands or countdowns, just the quiet accumulation of corrected data until the system flagged a specific 5-minute window. The algorithm predicted precisely when the train, loaded with more than 1,000 tons of diesel, would hit that blind spot. For every operator monitoring the feed, this wasn't luck. It was the final output of thousands of time-stamped signals converging into one prediction: the moment to strike. But information alone couldn't derail steel. Someone had to carry the plan into the physical world, to step through the air gap and bring that algorithm to life on a strip of rail deep inside occupied territory. What kind of person steps onto the enemy's railway carrying nothing but a tool bag rigged with a fiber cable and a thermal camera feed? At the Stroganovo-Machinskaya junction, one operative moved like a maintenance worker whose shift had just begun. His overalls bore the same reflective marks Russian crewmen used. His boots still carried mud from a nearby yard to complete the disguise. Every motion was rehearsed to look routine. The only unusual detail was the cable trailing from his equipment case, feeding encrypted telemetry back to a receiver buried miles away under camouflage netting. Behind that signal, a UAV recon team watched his heat outline shimmer faintly among stationary locomotives. The section he approached lay inside the 75-mile air defense gap Kyiv analysts had identified. No radar reached this corridor, but patrols did. Every 20 minutes, a marked vehicle rolled by to scan the trackside cottages for movement. The gap was supposed to be a safe pocket, out of sight from above, but its safety worked both ways. Ground observers had no interference, no fog or electric glare to mask a stranger on the rails. The operative timed his steps with the flashing of nearby warning beacons, adjusting his pace to coincide with moments of mechanical noise when motion sensors were least sensitive. He paused twice near a relay box, mimicking the posture of a technician before unstrapping the charge. From 75 miles away, operators monitored the scene through a low-latency thermal feed. The connection ran through a directional antenna, focusing the signal to a narrow beam that kept Russian detectors blind to its origin. On their screens, his body appeared as a pale shape moving between two cooler strips of track steel. The feed showed a patrol's infrared signatures approaching, then stopping short. The UAV pilot whispered a coded trigger through the network, one soundless pulse that translated into a single vibration on the operative's wrist. Green light to plant. He knelt and lifted the bottom plate of a signaling box. Inside, the device looked like an alignment tool, but the charge formed a perfect curve to hug one section of the rail web. It wasn't meant to blow apart the track. Its purpose was to shear a precise line through the fastening clips, a thin enough cut that only weight from a full convoy would complete the collapse. Embedded sensors inside the casing calibrated pressure during placement. He inserted a small core of thermite paste as a fuse element, set the timer, and tightened the cover bolts until the seams matched the original alignment. To anyone passing by, the box looked untouched. Once finished, he placed the fake toolkit back on the ballast and started walking north, counting steps. A coded ping signaled his exit confirmation. Overhead, the UAV reduced altitude to mask its heat signature against tree canopy before turning home. The operative vanished into the perimeter road, discarded his patched vest into a drainage culvert, and merged with a departing freight maintenance truck. No one stopped him. 23 minutes later, the rail telemetry pulsed again in Kyiv's system. The predicted train blipped across the grid in real time, matching the algorithm's forecast exactly. When its fifth axle crossed the prepared section, the steel clips failed with surgical precision. The lead cars stayed upright, but 9 tankers lifted and folded against each other like paper drums. Their cargo, nearly 1,000 tons of diesel, spilled into the air defense void. Seconds later, 4 FPV drones, already circling in passive mode, received activation codes. Each carried a shaped warhead mapped to individual tank coordinates. They dove almost together, striking in sequence, so the flames expanded outward instead of upward. The heat bloom erased the remaining wildlife sounds and triggered Russian alert systems too late to respond. For border posts miles away, it looked like a sudden act of sabotage, a random hit on a vulnerable convoy. But from Kyiv's perspective, it was the final frame of a week-long equation, a collision of prediction and precision that revealed how computation could become its own weapon long before the first explosion. Ukraine's hit on the Russian fuel train showed how precision and data can replace armies. The mission cost less than $10,000, yet vaporized over 1,000 tons of diesel and cut a key supply route. Algorithms, cheap drones, and a single operative achieved what once required brigades. When wars run on predictive code and intercepted chatter, the question becomes who truly stands on the front line, the soldier or the server? Small data sets and human daring can now tip military balance. Each intercepted signal rewrites how nations fight, one calculated byte at a time.